Welcome to Story Spark, your ultimate destination for enchanting tales, fables, and life lessons. Dive into captivating stories for adults and others that teach important morals and inspire positive thinking. From classic animal fables to inspiring life lessons, our animated and narrated stories make learning fun and memorable. Subscribe for new moral stories every week and spark your imagination with every tale.
Mateo, the fisherman, lived a life dictated by the gentle rhythm of the sea, not by the insistent tick of a clock. His small, sun-drenched village nestled against a sapphire bay, where the morning mist tasted of salt and serenity. Every day, Mateo would rise just before dawn, launch his small, brightly painted boat, and cast his nets for just a few hours. He only ever caught enough fish to feed his family and sell a small surplus to his neighbors, ensuring a light workload and consistent income. This particular morning, his catch was modest but perfect, a handful of silver mackerel and a large, healthy snapper. As the sun climbed higher, warming the damp sand, Mateo was already back on the beach, humming a cheerful local tune as he carefully cleaned his gear. He felt no pressure, no hunger for more. His needs were met, his soul was satisfied. The excess time was his true wealth, reserved for sipping sweet, strong coffee in the shade and laughing with his young children in the early afternoon. He felt an intense, quiet gratitude for his simple, unhurried existence. The world, to Mateo, was not a challenge to be conquered, but a beautiful gift to be peacefully enjoyed. The stillness of the village was abruptly shattered by the arrival of a sleek, black, extremely expensive car that roared to a stop near Mateo's little boat. Out stepped Mr. Sterling, a powerful, impeccably dressed American businessman on a short, frantic vacation. Sterling wore a suit that cost more than Mateo's boat and a heavy, expensive watch that seemed to perpetually remind him of the precious, irreplaceable minutes he was constantly losing. His face was tightly drawn, etched with the familiar stress of a man who measured every single success and failure by a financial metric. Sterling watched Mateo, frowning deeply at the fisherman's obvious unhurried ease. He couldn't fathom why anyone would waste perfectly good daylight hours sitting contentedly on a bucket when they could clearly be earning. To Sterling, time was a raw, valuable asset, a commodity that must be leveraged, exploited, and aggressively monetized. He adjusted his silk tie, his irritation mounting as he calculated the lost profit potential on Mateo's small catch and his early return to the shore. Here, in this remote, idyllic village, Sterling saw not peace, but a colossal, frustrating example of inefficiency and criminally poor ambition that absolutely demanded a swift, sharp correction. Mr. Sterling approached Mateo with a brisk, businesslike stride, casting a sharp, disapproving glance at the meager pile of fish lying innocently on the drying netting. "Good morning," Sterling began, his voice surprisingly sharp and impatient. "I'm a consultant, and I couldn't help but notice your work methods. Tell me, why are you returning to shore so early? You have excellent fishing grounds right here, yet your catch is quite small, honestly." Mateo looked up slowly, his eyes gentle, but puzzled by the businessman's evident, sudden agitation. "Ah, senor," he replied softly, leaning back against his hull, "I caught exactly enough. Enough for my family to eat well today, enough to trade for a little oil, and enough to share with my dearest neighbor." Sterling stared, a muscle twitching sharply in his rigid jaw. "Enough?" he demanded, his voice rising in disbelief. "But don't you understand? If you stay out there fishing for just 5 more hours, you could double, maybe even triple your current catch. You are neglecting a serious opportunity here, sir, and completely wasting prime, profitable time." Matteo smiled warmly, a slow, genuine smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "But, Senor," he asked, tilting his head slightly, "what exactly would I do with all that significant extra time I've saved if I didn't spend it fishing, you know? My life is already complete." Sterling blinked, momentarily taken aback by the absurdity of the question, but Matteo continued calmly, explaining his simple, unvarying schedule. "When I return early, I take a long, satisfying siesta with my wife, Lucia, during the hottest part of the midday sun. Then I play lively music with my friends in the quiet village square, where we often share simple wine and tell old familiar stories. After that, I have plenty of time to play long games of tag with my joyful children, before we all gather for a delicious, unhurried dinner. At night, Lucia and I simply enjoy the beautiful sunset, sitting by the bay, watching the slow, gentle waves. If I stay out there working for 5 more hours, Senor, I simply wouldn't have the precious time for any of those wonderful things. My day would be gone."
Sterling leaned in close, his eyes blazing with an almost missionary fervor. He felt a desperate, urgent need to educate this simple fisherman in the sacred, undeniable gospel of growth. "Matteo, listen to me carefully," he instructed, drawing a large, frantic diagram in the sand with his expensive leather shoe. "The extra time is not for rest. The extra time is for work. You must dedicate those 5 extra hours to fishing, and soon you will have far too much catch for the local market alone. You'll sell the excess to a nearby city distributor, which gives you the significant capital to buy a powerful, much larger boat. With a larger boat, you can hire 3 men from the village to help you out, and you'll stay out there fishing all week long. Your profits will absolutely skyrocket, allowing you to quickly upgrade your entire fishing equipment and significantly expand your effective operation." Sterling paused dramatically, gesturing wildly toward the distant, hazy horizon. He envisioned the potential profits now, the large, swirling columns of impressive numbers dancing vividly behind his intense, focused eyes. He saw the potential for a small, yet formidable fishing empire built entirely on this sleepy beach, starting with one slightly larger boat. Sterling wasn't finished, not by a long shot. He was now completely caught up and intensely focused in his own exhilarating, expansive narrative of inevitable escalating success. "Once you have built up a fleet of, let's say, 10 large boats," he explained patiently, "you can then completely bypass the simple distributor. You will have the necessary volume to open your very own cannery, employing all the people in the village, establishing your very own brand, and moving the entire supply chain completely in-house. You can even move your headquarters to the capital city, where the financial action is, and establish major, highly profitable export contracts with several other continents. Do you see the incredible global potential here, Matteo? Eventually, after about 15 to 20 years of this relentless, intense work, you will be financially secure enough to take your enormous company public on the stock exchange, becoming unimaginably wealthy and a global industry leader. That, Matteo, is the only true way to measure the profound value of your time."
Matteo listened patiently to the entire elaborate, frantic speech, nodding slowly, processing every single word. The ambitious plan was vast, undeniably impressive, and utterly dizzying in its sheer scale and complexity. When Sterling finally paused, breathless, waiting for the expected enthusiastic sign of agreement and gratitude, Matteo looked him directly in the eye, his gaze gentle and clear. "That is an astonishing vision, Senor, truly," Matteo admitted sincerely. "But tell me, whence I have done all that you have meticulously described, after those difficult 15 or 20 years of relentless, stressful work, what exactly would I do next with all that immense new financial freedom?" Sterling smiled broadly, a genuine, triumphant smile that finally softened the tight lines around his rigid mouth. "Why, Matteo," he exclaimed, radiating relief at having finally reached the clear, logical end of his brilliant proposal, "when you finally sell your colossal company for millions upon millions, you can happily retire. You can then move back to the same beautiful village, spend plenty of time playing long games of tag with your grown grandchildren, take long, satisfying siestas with your devoted wife, and of course, peacefully fish for just a few hours a day to feed your family and friends, exactly as you already do now. You would finally be free. The air hung heavy and completely silent, save for the gentle, rhythmic lapping of the calm waves on the shore. Mr. Sterling's final, triumphing words echoed awkwardly in the stark realization of the moment. Mateo simply looked at the businessman, then glanced at his small, brightly painted boat, and finally down at his bare feet, resting comfortably in the cool, moist sand. The intense irony of the situation was absolute and undeniable. "Señor," Mateo replied, his voice soft, yet carrying the profound weight of a deeply lived truth. "If the ultimate and absolute goal is to simply return to this very beach to fish a little, play music with friends, and enjoy the beautiful sunset with my loving wife, why then should I needlessly spend 20 long, exhausting years chasing a stressful, exhausting detour? I already have the beautiful life that you are desperately trying to sell to me. Only I have it right now, today." Sterling stared at the simple fisherman, his complex, intricate world momentarily dissolving into stark, clear focus. He finally understood that the fisherman was not lazy or ambitionless. He was already rich. Rich in time, rich in peace, and rich in life. The true value of time, Sterling realized, was not in how much wealth it generated, but in how much genuine life it contained. And so this profound tale reminds us all that we must be careful not to spend our precious lives earning money, only to spend that very same money later trying to buy back the exact time and simple freedom we already gave up in the first place. The ultimate measure of time's value is contentment, not mere accumulation. Thank you for listening.